A viewer asks why someone staying in a house after the homeowner's passing seems to have more rights than the biological child beneficiary. We're going to hop in some of these things in just a moment. Before we get there, I'll introduce myself. I'm 𝗲𝗂𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗆 of Zammitti Law. We're an estate planning practice in New York and New Jersey. We provide peace of mind to families through our high client value services. If you are seeking help with either estate planning or the administration following the loss of a loved one, we can help. You can reach us for a free consultation at yourplanningattorney.com. Now, when it comes down to it, the staying in a house in and of itself doesn't give that person more rights to the home, and certainly not over the legal beneficiary. But there may need to be some actions that are taken to resolve or remove that person from that home. First off, we certainly have to make sure that after a passing, if the individual who owned the property owned it outright, there needs to be a probate court, surrogates court process involved so that someone is legally authorized to handle the assets owned by that person, that decedent. Now, once that's done, if the person in charge, the executor, administrator, what have you, speaks to the, I'm going to call them tenant, and they're not willing to move or vacate the premises with just a simple, conversation, which is always the best if that can be accomplished. The alternative is filing a lawsuit, which often is most states, I think, called an eviction action. We don't do that type of law, but I'm going to give you a couple little insights here. Certainly when they die, the ownership of that house doesn't automatically switch, and it wouldn't go to just this random tenant anyway, even if it was, quite frankly, a living partner of the person who passed. So during the process, once a person is named, they should have that conversation and know that depending on the circumstances, that the person who lives there may have some temporary rights to remain, especially while there's nobody in charge, which is kind of stinky, but it is what it is. And if they are deemed to be someone who can be seen as like even a month-to-month tenant in many states, I know here in New York and New Jersey, they still have the same rights as a tenant as far as the steps that will need to be taken before they get evicted. So, if you're in the situation, don't freak out. There is a process. It's nice to avoid a court kind of litigation type process if you can via communication. Give them a little bit of leverage, a little bit of time, and then hopefully it will resolve. But if not, there is a process. And if they're deemed a month-to-month tenant, they have a right to, they have notice that needs to be sent to them. And usually maybe a certain period of time, or 30 days may be common. And then the formal process through the court. But once a court orders that their removal from the property is appropriate, you have to make sure that you're not doing any of that action. Usually a sheriff or court officer takes care of that, physical removal of the person. Bottom line, just living in a house doesn't give them more rights to the house, but there may be a process if they're deemed a tenant and they have to go through a formal eviction proceeding if they're not willing to go on their own. This is also why, I'll put a quick side note here, when we have clients who have a co-occupant in their home, say a living partner, but they don't intend for their asset to go to that person at their passing, we usually suggest a built-in time frame for which the partner will have to set themselves up and move. That way it's clear within the estate plan. I prefer that our client have that conversation with their partner openly so that they understand we don't, it's not my choice to leave you high and dry and that you have to be, kicked out within 2 days, but that you'll have a little time to get yourself situated and moved. All right, that's all I've got for you. Again, I'm 𝗲𝗂𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗆 of Zammitti Law. We're an estate planning practice in New York and New Jersey. We provide peace of mind to families through our high client value services. If you are in need of help for either estate planning or the administration following the loss of a loved one, we can help. You can reach us for a free consultation at yourplanningattorney.com. Hope you learned something new here today, and please don't forget to share. And as always, take care. Bye-bye.